The White Buffalo Calf, Astrology for Animals and Pet Horoscopes, and Honoring Mabelle, Rev Dr. Dickie Joe's Kitty Cat. Written, directed, and produced by Rev Dr. Dickie Joe Mullen. In this video, Dr. Mullen talks about the significance of the white buffalo calf, a 1 in 10 million chance at birth. She will discuss the lore and the horoscope of the Unsi, the white buffalo calf born in 1994. These animals are revered and considered holy beings. Also in this video, Dr. Mullen will honor and memory her Mabelle kitty cat who lived with her for a brief time in the past year. Now we will listen to Dr. Dickie Joe Mullen's presentation.
Hello, stargazers. I'm astrologer and parapsychologist Dickie Joe Mullen, coming to you with a very special birthday, the birthday of the white buffalo calf, a sacred symbol of hope and prosperity and prophecy. During these times of personal and planetary change, there are many, many omens telling us all that humanity is going through a great shift. We have the prophecies from the book of Revelations and also from Nostradamus, Mother Shipton, Black Elk. But one of the greatest and most interesting ones was the special birthday of Onchi. Onchi, spelled Untsi, or Onsi, it looks like Onsi, but it's Onchi, is the word for snow in the Cherokee Native American language. Onchi was born on the evening of April 25th, 2024, at Wagon Spring Ranch in Burnett, Texas. He is the offspring of a blonde bull named Blanco and a blonde mother, but he is pure white. The birth of this white buffalo immediately attracted a media and spiritual frenzy, especially among those who follow the Native American path, because Onchi is so rare that the arrival of a white buffalo is about a 1 in 10 million chance event, and there aren't that many buffaloes being born. So this is really a big thing. Among numerous Native American tribes, the white buffalo legend has long centered around an ancient omen. It's a sacred omen, and the white buffalo calf is revered as a holy being of all of the holy beings who've ever dwelled on planet Earth. Actually, it has a link with the Christ child. Its arrival is celebrated as a sign that the promises are being fulfilled and that all the prayers offered to the earth or the Great Spirit will be answered. The gist of this is that the good times are about to happen as the white buffalo grows. A supernatural being connected to the white buffalo is the white buffalo woman. She's a part of a Lakota, the Sioux Nation tribe version of this legend. The woman is a primary cultural icon. She's kind of like Mother Mary, Mother Nature, Mother Earth, sent to help those who have lost the ability to communicate with the Creator. She revives 7 sacred rites that will reinforce the well-being of the community from a spiritual perspective. The 7 sacred ceremonies include the Purification Lodge, the Seeking of Visions, the Sun Dance, Making of Relatives, and the Female Coming of Age, the Throwing of a Ball, and Soul Keeping. There's a ceremonial tobacco pipe that's involved with each of these ceremonies, and they are the gifts of the white buffalo woman. Think of the 7 chakras, the 7 visible planets, and you'll see the 7 colors in the rainbow, this theme of the sacred 7 coming in with the ceremonies. As the pipe is passed, it's supposed to foster the unity as the tribe sits together to honor and invoke the white buffalo woman. Each part of the pipe, the stem, the bowl, the tobacco, the smoke, and the breath, are all linked to the relationships of the natural world, spirit beings, and humanity. When the white buffalo is born and appears, this story, which can be traced back at least 2,000 years, maybe further, through storytellers, council meetings, and ceremonies, starts a chain of meaningful events. We're all involved in this chain right now, during the time period of the early 2000s. In another version of the story of the white buffalo, there was a famine, and the tribe's chief sent out 2 scouts to look for food. While they were hunting, they saw an incredibly beautiful woman in the distance. One scout approached her, while the other man warned him that she had to be sacred and to stay away. The woman began to speak. She explained that she was holy, and then she rolled down upon the earth, and she changed 4 times. She changed into a white buffalo calf at the end, and then disappeared. Before she disappeared, she told the scout to return to camp and tell all the people that their prayers were answered. Great herds of buffalo then surrounded the hungry camp, and the white buffalo woman is always invoked and thanked in prayers by hunters ever since, hunting for food. All of the various white buffalo legends have numerous outcomes which come true. They involve prayers to the Creator, the Great Spirit, for the plea for harmony, peace, and balance for all living beings dwelling on the Earth Mother. The white buffalo calf, born on August the 20th of 1994, was named, there was one that was named Miracle. And she was born in Wisconsin on a farm near Janesville, Wisconsin. Miracle was the first white buffalo born since 1933. On July 4th of 2012, another one named Baby was born in Avon, Minnesota. That one lived only 2 weeks. White buffalo calves are not albinos. Their coloring is true, and this buffalo takes 10 years to attain full maturity and 5 years to reach adult height. So the baby born on Wagon Spring Ranch is doing very well. It's very healthy, but it'll be 5 years before it reaches its full size and 10 years before we see exactly what it's going to bring and do. Wagon Spring Ranch states that Onchi will live there forever. The owner hopes to breed a large herd of endangered bison, including more white ones. He tells of an earlier time when the buffalo herds, 90 miles long, roamed the Texas hill countryside. It brings tears to one's eyes, and how he'd like to see those numbers repeated again. We'll see. And also this ties in with the ecological comments of Chief Seattle. He was from a different tribe. The city of Seattle, Washington, was named for Chief Seattle. And his quotes about ecology are legendary. One of them is, "Who will speak for the frogs?" And another one involves how when all of the trees are gone, well, we know that money means nothing. I'm paraphrasing. I'm a Cancer, everybody. People that are Cancers cry at the drop of a hat. But this is just so overwhelming and strong to think of because it affects all of us so. So think of Onchi. And when you see pictures and publicity about the little calf, just kind of follow what's going along. I did do a horoscope for him, which you can see. And we have a pretty close time of birth. It was during the evening, April 25th. And I used 9 p.m. because of historical records. A Scorpio ascendant. is apropos. It's in the Pluto-Neptune decadent, which suggests significance and mystery. The moon is on the cusp of Scorpio and Sagittarius. We have 00 degrees and only 12 minutes. It's in the first house. This combination suggests his emotional appeal and his connection with groups of people. The moon represents the common people. Appropriately enough, Onchi is Taurus, the bull, as his sun sign, and this made me think that he would be the white buffalo calf that would survive to maturity. He was born at the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which was watched. It was nearly exact at 22 degrees of Taurus at his birth. And in the astrological world, we know that Jupiter and Uranus is quite a rare and significant conjunction. It related to all of the unusual weather and temperature extremes experienced during early 2024. Onchi also has Mars and Neptune conjunct in Pisces. Pisces is a mystical sign with supernatural inclinations. Mars and Neptune conjunct has been called the aspect of the white magician or white witch. A very famous astrologer, Grant Louis, who lived in the early to mid-20th century and was very well known as an astrologer with his books. Astrology for the Millions was one of them, really emphasized the importance of the Mars-Neptune conjunction. And we see that here in Baby Snow, Baby Onchi's horoscope, if you'll look at it. So this charming little buffalo baby was also born shortly after the great American eclipse of April 8th of 2024. Almost everybody went out to see it or remembers it, or at least watched news coverage about it. Some might interpret this as yet another omen of significance that the baby came in with the great eclipse, because that has certainly been significant with world events during this early to mid part of the year 2024. Reading over Onchi's sites here, his sun is in Taurus in his 6th house of service, his moon in Sagittarius in the 1st house of personality, his Mercury in Aries in the 5th house of love and delight, and his Venus in Aries in the 6th house of service, his Mars in Pisces in the 5th house of games and humor, Jupiter in Taurus in the 7th house of public relations, Saturn in Pisces, his 4th house of the home, Uranus in Taurus, 7th house of public relations and the law, a lot of unusual legal cases in the news, Neptune in the 5th house of delight, Pluto in Aquarius in the 3rd house of news coverage, his moon node in the 5th house in Aries, Chiron in Aries in the 5th house. He has an absolutely loaded 5th house. The 5th house is all about happiness, delight, pleasure, games, ceremonies. And the 6th house of service kind of ties in with that very large stellium or grouping of planets. And as mentioned before, Scorpio is his rising sign, which is very intense, transformative, has a lot to do with deeper meanings of life and prophecy. At the time that Onchi was born, and at the time of the Great American Eclipse, I had a special little visitor come into my life whom I named Mabelle. I found out later she was actually named Posh Spice because I had her microchip read by the vet. But she was a beautiful little tiger tabby cat who had been abandoned by the people in the apartment building next door to me. And she came over here to live on my porch for a while. And I was just very blessed to have her. She was so friendly, and I couldn't let her in the house. She wanted to be a house cat, but Templeton, my primary resident here, just absolutely would not have it. He would snarl and hiss, make attempts on her life, and she would take off running, and we couldn't make it work. So she lived with me. I was very blessed to have her from the end of February all the way through April. And I was able to find her horoscope because her birthday was recorded on her microchip. She was born here in Orlando on April 23rd of 2019. So she lived to be just about 4 years old. She was a Taurus with a Sun-Uranus conjunction, which made her an unusual cat. And she had she had a Sagittarius Moon-Jupiter conjunction, which made her spiritual and adventurous. We didn't have an exact birth time for her, so the house positions are averaged out to a noon position. She did have Saturn conjunct Neptune in Capricorn. The chart is really quite a profound one. And her Mars in Gemini showed that she was very talkative and social. If you look at the chart with 2 rings, I have the transits for her death. She was tragically killed. And looking at the transits for the time I found her dead, she was killed on May 5th of 2024 at 11:59 p.m., shortly before midnight. You will see that the planet Neptune was at 29 degrees of Pisces. I have found that in death charts, Neptune is very prominent. I never predict death. Many people want to know if great aunt Helen will die in the summer, and she's so sick, let me know anyway. But it's very wrong, because in predicting death, that's all the person will think of. And years ago, when I was an exchange student in England, a fortune teller at Blackpool Pier, which is their equivalent of Daytona Beach, predicted the date of my death. It's still to come up. And you would think that for someone just 16, 17 years old at the time, that they would slough that off, but you don't. You remember it. So don't use this to predict death, but I can tell you that in event charts for death, I so often see a prominent Neptune. Neptune is at 29 degrees of Pisces. It's at the midpoint between Mabel's natal Neptune and the planet Venus, which is really significant because Venus is the dispositor of her Taurus sun. And we also will see that Neptune is square Pluto and out of square sign, and it is at a square to her, I'm blanking out here, I'm looking at a different minor aspect. It's at a square to her Sagittarius placements. At any rate, that was significant, and it kind of suggests fate, that she was only meant to be here a little while, but she made a difference in the world, and now you'll always remember the special kitty, which is really what spiritual astrology and spiritual thinking is all about, the continuity of life. I'm Dickie Jo in Orlando, Florida, reminding you to watch what goes on in the world of Unchi.
Thank you for watching the video. Reverend Dr. Dickie Jo Mullen has been gifted with several psychic learning styles that she has developed over her lifetime. Each of us has been gifted with innate psychic learning styles as well that we may choose to develop. Reverend Dr. Dickie Jo Mullen is an astrologer, psychic, and parapsychologist. She provides astrology, psychic, rune, and tarot card readings. She provides face-to-face and Zoom readings and seances. She offers webinars, face-to-face individual and group sessions as well. Here are Dr. Mullen's social media sites. Her email recently changed. She offers inspirational insights on her WordPress site. She has more than 200 related videos on her YouTube channel and also maintains a Facebook page. Reverend Dr. Dickey Joe notes that use of the internet enhances the psychic energy of her work. She observes that this is a result of the fusion of her earthbound energy, her psychic energy, and internet energy working together. She encourages you to explore and develop your innate psychic learning styles.